hands down one of the best cartoons ever made. This show refuses to die, and although I'm not a fan of the live-action Transformers movies, you have to give it to them. They are some of the biggest movies ever made. They rake in so much money and pack in a ton of super famous people. Now, through this massive movie franchise, through all of the cartoons that have been made, all of the spin-off series, and the endless number of toys that have been cranked out, there have been a plethora of theories that are going along with this universe. Today, Most Amazing Top 10 family, we are going to dive into these theories and look at our list of top 10 scary Transformers theories. I am, of course, your host, Chadarena, and before we get into this video, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. Also, stick around until the end of the list because I'm going to be doing some more pet shoutouts, which you guys love so much. And without taking any longer, let's get into this list. Coming in at number 10, we have Optimus Prime is a terrorist. You have the Quintessons in power. They created and controlled both the Autobots and the Decepticons. Both machine races were treated like slaves by their overlords. The Autobots were forced to work in factories and the Decepticons were forced to fight in wars. The Autobots found that it was time to revolt and they fought back against their oppressive leaders. I mean, in a way, yes, this is the light the Autobots would have been painted in. They were fighting back against the government using force and weapons, so some might see the heroes of the story as terrorists. But really, they're more like rebels. They're fighting for their own freedom and they want to see a world where they can all live free and not be forced to work in factories like slaves. I support the Transformers cause and everything they stand for. Coming in at number 9, we have Megatron is right. Megatron is constantly trying to steal from the humans to get supplies so that he and the other Decepticons can make it back to Cybertron and rule. But even though his methods might not be the best, his goal is still to get his buddies home. Mind you, that is also Optimus Prime's goal, but he is willing to take his sweet, sweet time to see it happen. Even though Megatron is more ruthless, he could get the job done faster, thus getting to Cybertron faster and making sure that their home planet is safe. Now, I'm not saying I agree with this theory. When I was a kid, I was a big supporter of bad guys in a lot of cartoons and movies and stuff like He-Man and Star Wars, but I have to say that I was Team Autobots from day one. Coming in at number 8, we have Hasbro introduced female robots as a political move. At the origin of Transformers, there wasn't much discussion as to why there was not female robots. The answer was simply that the robots were genderless, and that was that. I think it's easy to see that the Transformers tend to have more male characteristics. This is mostly because Hasbro made the toys to sell to boys, and they didn't think that female robots would sell to boys or girls. But this all changed at one time. There wasn't a small drip feed of new faces. A wave of female robots came into the cartoons and comics, which is very cool. Make all these big changes at once and fix all the problems. Now, some fans speculate that this wasn't because Hasbro wanted to become more inclusive or because they wanted to break into the female market, but it was because the toy company was receiving a ton of backlash from separate feminist groups. Now, no one knows if this is actually true, but something to add fuel to the fire is when the original female Transformers were added to the comics. The reasoning was that feminists in the comics were mad at the Autobots because there was no women in their group. So yeah, the writers might have been a little heavy with this one. Coming in at number 7, we have Nemesis Prime and Optimus Prime are forever linked. There is nothing like a good evil twin to spice things up in a show. For those of you who don't know, Nemesis Prime is the black painted version of Optimus Prime who happens to be evil. And even though he has been defeated many times, some fans think that he will always return as long as Optimus Prime is on the Earth. The theory is that their sparks are forever linked. So the only way to rid the universe of all robotic evil would actually be to kill Optimus Prime. Well, that's a very dark outcome I would not want to face. Also, that sounds like a Decepticon trick, something they would tell the Autobots so that even if they lost the war, Optimus Prime would die. Coming in at number 6, we have WASPINATOR has an immortal spark. Let's venture into one of these spin-off worlds from the Transformers franchise. We of course have Beast Wars, or Beasties as it was called in Canada. Apparently there was some law where you can have the word wars in the title of a kid's show, which is like a fair law. But in this show, we have WASPINATOR, who gets the worst of every battle encounter with the enemies. There isn't any character who gets blown up and torn apart more than WASPINATOR, but he always manages to get repaired and come back to lose another day. But this could be because it is impossible for him to die. We even saw his spark reused when the Autobots and Decepticons made it back to Cybertron when the series went through the change and changed over to Beast Machines. He couldn't remember who he was, but his spark lived on in secret until it was revealed in a later episode. Coming in at number 5, we have What Happened to DION. Longtime Transformer fans have often asked the question, what on earth happened to DION? He was good friends with Orion Pax, which was the robot that would be destroyed and rebuilt to make Optimus Prime. They were both attacked at the same time, but no one has ever explained what happened to one of Optimus's original friends. Now, some people think that DION was also rebuilt and could be any member of the Autobots. Other people think that he just died and that was that. Or an even more sinister theory is that he was used to make one of the Decepticons, a tactic used to make it harder for Optimus Prime to lead a revolution against the Decepticons. If he knew that one of his greatest friends was repurposed to fight against him, and that his friend had no control over this, he might not find the strength to stand strong. Or so the Decepticons thought, if this theory is in fact true. Coming in at number 4, we have humans created the Transformers in the movie universe. I want to specify that this theory is from the movie universe because we know that the origin for the Transformers in the cartoon is clearly laid out. But there is a theory that the humans created the Allspark in the movie universe. They made it 4,000 years in the future and then sent it back in time. And with the Allspark being the thing that gives Transformers life, they basically have the humans to thank for making them living beings. This theory is backed up by the fact that the Allspark comes to Earth out of every other planet in the universe. Why would it come to the one planet that had no machines on it at the time when it landed? This also explains how the Transformers were able to co-assimilate with humans so easily. It's just part of who they are. It has been programmed into their being to work well with humans. Also, this explains their need to protect humans, well, for some of them. But it's because this has all been programmed into their subconscious, and the Allspark was sent back in time to ensure human survival. Coming in at number 3, we have Galvatron faked his insanity. There's a point in the animated Transformers movie where Galvatron gets thrown into a plasma pool. After this point, he becomes a different person and he starts to act erratically. He is a danger to everyone around him, and while he still associates with the Decepticons, he was almost as much a danger to them as he was to the Autobots. He would attack his own men randomly, and his plans would rarely follow any sort of cohesive structure. He was a man unhinged, but this could have all been a tactic to get better control of his men. Galvatron nearly died when he was thrown into a plasma pool. This experience could have both scared him and angered him. He could have been angry with his men because they were unable to protect him, and he could have been scared that the next time something like that happened, it would lead to his death. So he might have come up with a new strategy of how to control the people around him. Pure, uncontrolled chaos. If his men were now afraid that he would kill them even faster than the Autobots, they would do everything in their power to make sure their leader was safe. Coming in at the number 2 spot, we have Transformers Age of Extinction is about the end of the American dream. Okay, we're getting deep on this one. So the idea is kind of blatantly laid out in the title, but of course we're going a little deeper. Throughout the movie, you have the human characters who are struggling to keep their way of life. They are forced into illegal activities just so they can get by. The idea of just pulling up your bootstraps is gone because there are no longer any boots to pull up, and the threat of robot overlords has made it unsafe to even live in the country. There's pressure from Asia to create some sort of intervention, and the Autobots, which should be the savior and brightest part of the country, aka the American dream, are now seeing themselves become worthless in this new world. But at least the movie has a happy ending, right? Coming in at number 1, we have there is a rated R version of the original Transformers movie. I got to start off by saying if this is true, this has to be one of the coolest things I have ever heard, but there has never been any proof of this rated R cut. It is just rumored. This was a rumor floating around for years. Basically, because the movie was taking place in a PG-13 universe, there was more wiggle room for them when it came to violence and obscenities and how they were going to portray everyone on screen. There was even a brutal death scene for Ultra Magnus that was never put into the movie but was in fact storyboarded. There was also a rumored end to the movie that had Optimus Prime turn black and then to dust after he succumbs to his injuries. But apparently this version of the movie would cause kids to break down and cry. So this one probably isn't true, but the idea of a movie that is so intense it just makes kids break down is amazing. Alright everyone, that has been our list, and as promised I'm going to be doing some more pet shoutouts. Remember, if you want me to shout out your pet, you can hit me up on Instagram. I pick new pets every day, so if you don't get picked one day, you can message back another day. If it takes me a little while to get back to you, I'm very sorry. I have a lot of these to do. Without taking any longer, let's get into this list. First up, we have this black and brown cat that I didn't get the name for, so I'm going to name this little cutie Dinglebutt. After that, we have Shamrock and Happy, who look like they're the best of friends. After that, we have another dog that I didn't get the name for, so I'm going to name him Hat Boy. Next, we have a picture of Loki, who loves her headphones. And to close it out, we have Ruby, who's looking so cute with her big brown eyes. All right, everyone, that has been our list. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. Until next time, I've been your host, Jay Dorena, and keep watching Transformers. I love it. Bye.